The massive alien warship hung in the darkness of space, its crystalline surface reflecting the distant light of Earth's sun. Inside the command center, Admiral White of the Stellar Confederation stood before the main viewing screen, his tall, slender frame barely touching the floor in the ship's comfortable 0.3G environment. "Such a primitive world," he said, watching the blue planet spin slowly on the screen. "They still use wheeled vehicles and burn fossil fuels." His large, silver eyes blinked slowly as he studied the data streaming across multiple displays. The ship's science officer, Dr. Green, floated gracefully to his side. Like all members of their species, she stood nearly 9 feet tall, with a delicate bone structure perfect for life on their low-gravity homeworld. "Their technology is centuries behind ours, Admiral. But there's something odd about their physical development. The data suggests they're much stronger than their size would indicate." "Irrelevant." Admiral White waved a long-fingered hand dismissively. "Our battle suits multiply our strength 100-fold. Begin the invasion preparations." 12 hours later, on Earth, things were about to change forever. Commander Jane Smith stood in the underground command center of Earth Defense Force headquarters, staring at the radar displays with growing concern. Dozens of unknown objects had just appeared at the edge of their detection range, moving faster than any known human spacecraft. "Get me the president," she ordered, her voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. The technicians around her worked frantically at their stations, tracking the approaching objects. "Ma'am," called out Lieutenant Brown from his monitoring station, "the objects are decelerating. Their trajectory suggests they're heading for major population centers worldwide." Commander Smith nodded grimly. Years of training had prepared them for this moment, but the reality of first contact was still overwhelming. "What's their estimated time of arrival?" 3 hours to atmospheric entry, ma'am." In orbit, Admiral White watched with satisfaction as his fleet moved into position. The invasion force consisted of 500 ships, each carrying thousands of troops equipped with the most advanced technology in the Stellar Confederation. Their battle suits alone cost more than all the military equipment on Earth combined. "Begin broadcasting the surrender demands," he ordered. "Let's give these primitives a chance to submit peacefully." The message went out in every human language. "People of Earth, we are the Stellar Confederation. Your planet is now under our protection. Resist, and we will be forced to demonstrate our technological superiority. Submit, and you will be granted the privilege of joining our enlightened civilization." In the EDF Command Center, Commander Smith listened to the transmission with a mix of anger and determination. "Send out the alert to all military commands. Initiative Delta is now in effect." Across the globe, military forces mobilized with practiced efficiency. Civilian authorities began emergency protocols, moving people into shelters. The world held its breath, waiting for humanity's first encounter with alien life. Back on the command ship, Dr. Green approached Admiral White with new data. "Sir, I've completed my analysis of the planet's conditions. There's something concerning about their gravity readings." "Doctor, please," Admiral White interrupted. "I'm about to make history. The conquest of Earth will be remembered as the moment we proved our supremacy over primitive species throughout the galaxy." Dr. Green hesitated, then bowed slightly and retreated. She looked at her data pad one more time, worry creasing her delicate features. The numbers couldn't be right. According to her readings, Earth's gravity was more than 3 times stronger than their homeworld. But surely their advanced technology would compensate for such a minor detail. As the invasion fleet began its descent toward Earth's atmosphere, neither side fully understood how this difference would change everything. The aliens, confident in their superior technology, were about to learn a harsh lesson about the importance of environmental adaptation. And humanity, despite their apparent technological disadvantage, was about to discover that sometimes the best defense is simply being born on a world that others would consider a death trap. The first shots of the war were only hours away, and physics itself was about to become humanity's greatest ally. The alien ships pierced Earth's atmosphere like falling stars, their advanced shields glowing bright orange against the morning sky. In New York, London, Tokyo, and dozens of other major cities, millions watched in awe as the massive vessels descended through the clouds. Admiral White stood proudly in his command ship, hovering above Manhattan. "Begin the deployment," he ordered. "Show these primitives the might of our warriors." The landing bay doors opened, and the first wave of alien troops activated their gravity assist systems. They expected to float gracefully to the ground, their battle suits making them invincible against Earth's primitive weapons. Instead, something went terribly wrong. The moment they left their ships, the alien soldiers plummeted like stones. Their gravity assist systems, designed for their homeworld's gentler pull, screamed warnings and failed instantly. Troops crashed into rooftops and streets, their supposedly advanced armor denting against the concrete. "What's happening?" Admiral White demanded, watching in horror as his elite forces stumbled and fell. "Why can't they stand properly?" Dr. Green rushed to her console, frantically analyzing data. "Sir, it's the gravity. Earth's pull is too strong. Our suits weren't designed for this level of force." On the streets below, the scene was chaos. The alien soldiers, each nearly 9 feet tall, could barely lift their weapons. Their slender frames, perfect for their low-gravity homeworld, worked against them here. Every movement was a struggle, every step a battle against Earth's relentless pull. Commander Smith watched from the EDF command center as video feeds showed the aliens' disastrous landing. "Are you seeing this?" she asked her staff, a hint of disbelief in her voice. Lieutenant Brown nodded, studying the footage. "Their entire combat system seems designed for low-gravity environments. They can barely move in their own armor." Across the city, people who had hidden in fear began emerging from their shelters. The sight of alien warriors struggling to stand, their long limbs shaking under Earth's gravity, transformed terror into amazement. A young police officer named Jack watched as an alien soldier tried to lift its rifle. The weapon, probably lightweight on their homeworld, might as well have been made of lead here. The alien's arms trembled with effort before the gun clattered to the ground. "This is impossible." Admiral White slammed his fist against his command console. "Our technology is superior in every way." "Sir," Dr. Green's voice was urgent, "we need to recall the ground forces. Their suits are crushing them. The weight, it's too much for their bones." In Central Park, a group of alien warriors attempted to activate their advanced combat mechs. The 20-foot-tall machines, pride of the Stellar Confederation's military, took one step and immediately toppled over. Their joints, calibrated for 0.3 G, couldn't handle the strain of Earth's gravity. News spread quickly across the globe. In London, civilians recorded videos of aliens crawling out of their crashed armor suits, their tall bodies barely able to support themselves. In Tokyo, a squadron of alien troops had to be rescued by human emergency services after their gravity assist systems failed, leaving them trapped in their own equipment. Commander Smith ordered all military forces to hold their positions. "Let them wear themselves out," she said, watching another alien mech collapse under its own weight. "Their greatest enemy isn't us, it's physics." Back on the command ship, Admiral White faced a difficult decision. Half his ground forces were already incapacitated, not by human weapons, but by something far more basic, the simple fact that they evolved on a different world. "Order all troops to return to the ships," he finally commanded, his pride struggling against reality. "Maintain orbital positions while we reassess the situation." As alien soldiers were winched back to their vessels, many needed medical attention. Their bodies, stressed by Earth's gravity, showed signs of physical trauma. What was supposed to be a display of overwhelming force had turned into a humiliating demonstration of their own limitations. Earth's defenders hadn't fired a single shot, but the first battle was already over, and humanity had won simply by being at home on their heavy world. 2 days after the failed landing, Admiral White faced an angry council of war aboard his command ship. The holographic faces of his senior officers flickered with barely contained rage as they discussed their humiliating situation. "We must try again," General Gray shouted, his long fingers clenched into fists. "We cannot let these primitives think we are weak." Admiral White shook his head. "Our troops can barely move down there. Even our lightest weapons are too heavy for effective combat in Earth's gravity." On the surface, Dr. Thompson of the Earth Defense Force studied data collected from the aliens' abandoned equipment. She stood in a warehouse filled with fallen battlesuits and dropped weapons, each item weighing far more in Earth's gravity than its designers had intended. "Look at this," she said to Commander Smith, lifting an alien rifle with effort. "Their weapons are made from advanced alloys, probably weightless on their world. But here," she let the rifle drop with a heavy thud, "it weighs as much as a small car." Meanwhile, in orbit, Dr. Green worked frantically to solve their gravity problem. "If we reduce the armor thickness by 70%, she explained to Admiral White, "our troops might be able to move more freely and be completely vulnerable to their weapons." The Admiral replied grimly, "What about the gravity assist systems? They're burning out instantly. Earth's pull is simply too strong for our technology to counter effectively." Across the globe, human military forces began developing new strategies. Lieutenant Brown led a team testing captured alien equipment, discovering that even their most basic tools became unwieldy in Earth's gravity. "Their entire military doctrine is based on agility and quick movements," he explained during a briefing. "But on Earth, they're slower than humans wearing full medieval armor." In the command ship's medical bay, the ship's doctor presented more bad news. "The troops who spent just hours on the surface are showing signs of severe physical stress. Their bones weren't designed for this kind of gravitational force." Admiral White received another shock when the Combat Mechs Division reported their findings. "Sir, we can't even get the machines to stand up properly. The joints buckle instantly under their own weight." On Earth, humans were beginning to lose their fear of the invaders. Videos spread across the internet showing alien soldiers struggling with simple tasks. One particularly popular clip showed an alien warrior being helped up by an elderly woman after it had fallen and couldn't rise under the weight of its own body. Dr. Thompson's team made another crucial discovery. "Their body structure is completely different from ours," she told Commander Smith. "Their muscles and bones evolved for a world with less than half our gravity. Even without their heavy equipment, they're at a huge disadvantage." The aliens attempted one more small-scale landing, this time with modified equipment. A squad of their best troops, wearing stripped-down armor, tried to secure a remote landing zone in the Australian outback. The results were even worse than before. Without their protective armor, the aliens' bodies couldn't handle Earth's gravity at all. The squad had to be evacuated within minutes, several of them suffering from fractured bones just from trying to walk. "This is impossible," General Gray raged during another war council. "We have conquered dozens of worlds. How can we be defeated by something as basic as gravity?" Dr. Green finally spoke up. "That's exactly the problem, sir. We've never attempted to invade a heavy world before. All our previous conquests were on planets similar to or lighter than our own." Admiral White stared at the blue planet below them. Their mighty invasion fleet hung in orbit, effectively useless. Their advanced weapons and armor, the pride of their civilization, had been transformed into deadweight by Earth's gravity. As the day ended, Commander Smith received reports from observers worldwide. The aliens hadn't fired a single effective shot. Their superior technology, designed for a lighter world, had become their greatest weakness on humanity's heavy planet. The question now wasn't if the invasion would fail, but how the aliens would handle their defeat at the hands of simple physics. 1 week into the invasion, Admiral White paced in his command center, watching screens filled with failed experiments. His scientists had been working around the clock to solve their gravity problem, but nothing seemed to work. "Show me the latest test results," he ordered Dr. Green, who looked exhausted after days of nonstop work. "We've tried creating localized gravity fields," she explained, pulling up a video. On the screen, an alien soldier stepped into a shimmering bubble of energy. For a moment, he moved normally. Then the generator exploded in a shower of sparks. "The power requirements are impossible," Dr. Green continued. "We'd need our entire fleet's energy just to keep one squad moving normally on the surface." Down on Earth, Dr. Thompson studied the wreckage of another failed alien gravity device. "Their technology is incredible," she told Commander Smith, "but they're fighting against one of the most basic forces of nature." The aliens' next attempt involved new, lightweight battle suits made from their strongest materials. They tested them in a remote desert location, away from human eyes. The suits worked for exactly 6 minutes before crumbling under Earth's relentless pull. "What about the battle mechs?" General Gray demanded during an emergency meeting. "Surely we can reinforce them." A tired engineer displayed images of their latest attempt. They had rebuilt a mech with stronger joints and better support structures. It managed to take 3 steps before its legs snapped like twigs. Admiral White received more bad news from the medical team. "Sir, we're seeing serious health issues in troops who spent even brief periods on the surface. Their cardiovascular systems can't handle the strain." In orbit, the mighty invasion fleet had become a collection of very expensive waiting rooms. Thousands of alien soldiers remained in their ships, unable to do anything but watch the planet below. Dr. Green tried a different approach. "If we can't fight gravity," she suggested, "maybe we can avoid it." She showed plans for hover platforms that would keep their soldiers off the ground. They tested the platforms over New York City. At first, it seemed to work, until they discovered that any damage to the anti-gravity systems sent their troops plummeting to Earth. After losing 3 soldiers to gravity-related injuries, they abandoned that idea too. The aliens' frustration grew. They had conquered dozens of worlds, but Earth's gravity made their advanced weapons useless. Even their smallest drones, when equipped for combat, became too heavy to fly effectively. Commander Smith watched all this with growing confidence. "They're burning through their resources," she told her staff. "Every failed attempt costs them energy they can't easily replace." The aliens tried one more ambitious plan. They would create a massive gravity shield over an entire city, making a space where their troops could fight at full strength. They chose a small coastal town for the test. The shield worked perfectly for exactly 2 minutes. Then the power requirements overwhelmed their systems. The shield collapsed, along with their hopes of an easy solution. "This is unprecedented," Dr. Green reported to Admiral White. "Our entire military doctrine assumes we'll always have the advantage of technology. But here, the very laws of physics work against us." In their desperation, the aliens even tried modifying their own bodies with strength-enhancing drugs. The results were disastrous. Their enhanced soldiers could barely move before their reinforced bones cracked under Earth's gravity. Admiral White stared at the latest failure reports. His mighty fleet, capable of destroying entire worlds, was being defeated by something as simple as weight. Their weapons were too heavy to aim. Their armor was too heavy to wear. Even their bodies were too fragile for Earth's powerful gravitational pull. "Perhaps," Dr. Green suggested quietly, "we should consider that this world simply isn't meant for us to conquer." But the Admiral wasn't ready to admit defeat. If they couldn't fight on the ground, they still had their ships. As night fell over Earth, he began planning a different kind of attack, one that wouldn't require his troops to set foot on humanity's heavy world. Commander Smith stood before the assembled military leaders from around the world. The meeting room was tense with anticipation as she outlined humanity's plan to strike back. "For 2 weeks, we've watched them struggle against our gravity," she said, pointing to video footage of failed alien landings. "Now it's time to use that weakness against them." In orbit, Admiral White noticed increased activity on Earth's surface. His sensors detected military forces gathering in key locations, but he wasn't worried. After all, their primitive weapons couldn't reach his ships. The first attack caught the aliens completely by surprise. A small group of human soldiers, wearing normal combat gear, confronted an alien patrol that had managed to set up a temporary base in the Mojave Desert. The aliens expected an easy victory. Their weapons were still far more advanced than anything humans possessed. But when they tried to aim their heavy rifles, their arms shook with exhaustion. Every movement was a struggle against Earth's punishing gravity. The human soldiers, moving easily in their own environment, quickly surrounded the alien position. Within minutes, the entire alien patrol surrendered, unable to even lift their weapons effectively. "Impossible," General Gray shouted when he received the news. "How can these primitives defeat our elite troops?" Dr. Green had the answer. "Sir, their soldiers train in this gravity from birth. What we see is crushing weight. They experience as normal conditions. They're perfectly adapted to fight here." Similar scenes played out across the globe. Human forces, using simple tactics and basic weapons, overwhelmed alien positions. The invaders' advanced technology meant nothing when they could barely stand up to fight. In Australia, a group of local defense forces discovered they didn't even need complex strategies. They simply waited for the alien troops to exhaust themselves trying to move in their heavy armor, then moved in to accept their surrender. Commander Smith received reports of victory after victory. "Their greatest advantage has become their biggest weakness," she told her staff. "Every piece of advanced technology they bring just weighs them down more." On social media, videos spread showing the aliens' humiliating defeats. One clip showed a human soldier easily dodging an alien's slow, gravity-hindered attack, then simply pushing the invader over. The alien couldn't get back up under the weight of its own armor. Admiral White watched in growing horror as his ground forces were defeated everywhere they tried to fight. His troops, the pride of the Stellar Confederation, were surrendering to humans armed with simple projectile weapons. "We must do something," General Gray demanded during an emergency meeting. "This is embarrassing. We're losing to primitives who don't even have space travel." But every attempt to support their troops failed. Reinforcements sent to the surface immediately fell victim to the same gravitational problems. Their advanced combat robots moved like they were trapped in thick mud. Even their fastest vehicles became sluggish under Earth's heavy pull. Dr. Thompson, studying captured alien equipment, made an interesting discovery. "Their technology is amazing," she reported to Commander Smith. "But they designed everything assuming they'd always fight in low gravity. They never considered that someone might evolve in a heavier environment." The final blow to alien ground operations came during a battle in Brazil. A full company of alien troops, trying to establish a beachhead, found themselves facing a small unit of local military forces. The aliens had better weapons, better armor, and better training. But none of that mattered. The human soldiers moved quickly and efficiently, while the aliens struggled with every step. Within an hour, the entire alien force had surrendered, many of them physically exhausted just from trying to move in Earth's gravity. Admiral White received the report with grim resignation. His ground forces, the most advanced army in the known galaxy, had been defeated not by superior technology or better tactics, but by the simple fact that Earth was too heavy for them to fight effectively. As night fell, he knew he had only one option left. If his troops couldn't fight on the ground, he would have to rely on his fleet's orbital weapons. But as he prepared to give the order, alarms began blaring throughout his ship. Humanity had one more surprise waiting for him. Admiral White stood on his command bridge, watching as the first orbital bombardment began. Beams of energy shot from his ships toward Earth's surface. If his troops couldn't fight in Earth's gravity, he would attack from space where gravity couldn't hinder them. "Target their military bases first," he ordered, "then their power plants and—" "Sir," Dr. Green's voice cut through the command center. "We're detecting launches from the surface. Hundreds of them." Commander Smith stood in the EDF bunker, watching as humanity's secret weapons rose from hidden silos across the planet. "Let's see how they handle Earth's gravity when we use it against them," she said quietly. The missiles launching from Earth weren't like anything the aliens had seen before. They carried no explosives, no warheads. Instead, they were simple metal projectiles, designed to use Earth's gravity well as a natural accelerator. "What are they doing?" General Gray demanded, watching the primitive rockets rise. "Those aren't even armed." Dr. Green's eyes widened as she understood. "Sir, they're using gravity assist. The projectiles are falling up toward us, gaining speed from Earth's gravity. Our ship's defenses are calibrated for low-gravity combat." The first wave of gravity-accelerated projectiles struck the alien fleet like a steel rain. The simple kinetic weapons, pulled by Earth's gravity and then slung toward space, moved far faster than the aliens' combat simulations had predicted. Shields failing on Cruiser 7. An officer shouted, "We've lost contact with destroyers 3 and 4. Admiral White watched in horror as his mighty fleet began taking damage from what were essentially rocks thrown by gravity. His ships, designed for combat in space and low-gravity environments, had never needed heavy armor. They relied on energy shields and maneuverability. But Earth's gravity well gave the human weapons terrible power. Each impact carried the force of Earth's pull transformed into destructive energy. Ships designed for the gentle physics of low-gravity worlds crumpled under the assault. "Move the fleet higher," Admiral White ordered. "Get us out of their gravity well." "Too late," Dr. Green shouted. "The projectiles are caught in Earth's gravity. They're following us up." Commander Smith received damage reports from her tracking stations. The alien fleet was in chaos. Their ships, trying to escape Earth's gravity, were fighting against the same force that made their ground invasion impossible. "They've never fought in a gravity well this strong," Dr. Thompson explained, watching the battle on radar screens. "Their engines are designed for lighter worlds. They can't escape Earth's pull quickly enough." In space, the alien fleet scattered, trying to avoid the streams of gravity-accelerated projectiles. But Earth's pull affected their ships just as it had affected their ground forces. Their engines struggled against the heavier gravity, making their normally agile vessels slow and clumsy. "This is impossible." General Gray slammed his fist on a console. "We're being defeated by their gravity twice. First on the ground, now in space." Admiral White watched as another cruiser succumbed to the kinetic bombardment. His mighty invasion fleet, pride of the Stellar Confederation, was being destroyed by the very force they had underestimated from the beginning. "Sir," Dr. Green's voice was quiet, "we should retreat while we still can. Earth's gravity well extends far into space. The longer we stay here, the more vulnerability we show." On Earth, Commander Smith allowed herself a small smile as the alien fleet began a disorganized retreat. Their ships, still fighting Earth's gravitational pull, moved sluggishly compared to their arrival. "Sometimes," she told her staff, "the simplest solution is the best." They came here thinking their technology made them invincible. They never considered that the very thing they ignored, our heavy world, would be their undoing. As the alien fleet limped away from Earth, they had learned a costly lesson. Advanced technology meant nothing when fighting against the fundamental forces of nature, and humanity, shaped by their heavy world, had proven that sometimes the greatest strength comes from simply being born in a harsh environment. 1 month after the failed invasion, representatives from Earth met with the Stellar Confederation in a neutral space station. The station's artificial gravity was set to Earth's standard as a subtle reminder of humanity's advantage. Admiral White, still nursing his wounded pride, watched as the alien diplomats struggled to move in the Earth normal gravity. Even here, during peace talks, they couldn't escape the force that had defeated their mighty fleet. Commander Smith led the Earth delegation, accompanied by Dr. Thompson and several military leaders. They sat comfortably while their alien counterparts shifted uneasily in specially designed chairs. "We must acknowledge," the chief alien diplomat said, his long frame supported by a gravity assist device, "that we severely underestimated your world and your species." Dr. Thompson presented their findings to the gathered delegates. "Your technology is far more advanced than ours in many ways," she explained. But you designed everything for low-gravity environments. You never considered that advanced life could evolve on a heavy world like Earth. The aliens had brought their own scientific data. Dr. Green, now working to understand humanity rather than conquer it, shared her analysis. Humans are remarkable, she admitted. Your bones are incredibly dense, your muscles extraordinarily powerful by our standards. You're built for a world we consider almost uninhabitable. News of the peace talks spread across Earth. Humans everywhere celebrated not just their victory, but their introduction to a larger galactic community. They had proven themselves not through superior technology, but through the simple fact of their evolution on a heavy world. We propose a trade agreement, the alien diplomat offered. Your species has qualities we never thought possible. The ability to fight and work in high-gravity environments could be incredibly valuable. Commander Smith smiled. We're interested in your technology too, she replied. Especially if we can help you adapt it for use in Earth-like conditions. The meeting resulted in the creation of a new classification system for planetary civilizations. Earth was officially designated as a heavy world, and its inhabitants gained immediate respect throughout the galaxy. Worlds with gravity higher than 0.8 Earth standard were now considered off-limits for traditional invasion tactics. Admiral White, in his final report to the Confederation Council, wrote, "We came to Earth believing our advanced technology made us superior. We left understanding that evolution in a challenging environment creates strengths that technology cannot easily match." 6 months later, Earth opened its first off-world military training facility. Alien species from across the galaxy sent their elite forces to train under Earth's heavy gravity. Human instructors taught them how to fight in high-gravity environments, though few could ever match humanity's natural advantages. Dr. Thompson worked with Dr. Green to develop new technologies that could work effectively in various gravity conditions. Their collaboration led to breakthrough discoveries in materials science and gravitational physics. The invasion was a blessing in disguise. Commander Smith told a graduating class of Earth's first space defense force, "It showed us that humanity's greatest strength wasn't our technology or our weapons, but the simple fact that we evolved on a world that others find harsh and demanding." Earth's reputation grew throughout the galaxy. Human soldiers were highly sought after as training instructors and security specialists. Their natural ability to operate in heavy gravity made them invaluable for operations on worlds that other species found challenging. The Stellar Confederation never again attempted to invade a heavy world. Instead, they established new protocols for first contact, taking planetary gravity into account before any military action was considered. As Earth took its place among the galactic civilizations, humans carried with them a new understanding of their own strength. They weren't the most technologically advanced species, but they had something just as valuable: bodies and minds shaped by their heavy world, ready to face challenges that would crush other beings. "Remember" became a common saying in galactic military circles. Never pick a fight with someone who grew up in higher gravity than you. It was a lesson the Stellar Confederation had learned the hard way, and one that would shape galactic politics for centuries to come.